This is Tony Chimmel, and I'd like to introduce the hosts of the Game Marks podcast, George Feis and Johnny Clash.
Welcome to the Game Marks podcast, where each and every week we take a deep dive into the good, the bad, and the awesome of video games. I'm the man they call Johnny Clash.
My name is George Feis, and today we are playing Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling 2 3-4 Budōkan. I hope that's actually what it's supposed to be. We are currently live on Twitch and on YouTube for Game Bari. We're getting those donations in for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. We actually just got one right before we started, which means, John, we currently need to have a Bean Boozled. For those of you who are not familiar with what these are Jelly Belly jelly beans that actually have some not great flavors in them. So I am going to reach in and pick one out, and I have either liver and onions or cappuccino.
Oh no. Oh, I got two. Let's shake one. Oh, they both fell. Oh no.
Uh-oh. John has one.
Dead fish or strawberry smoothie?
Ooh, have you ever had that one?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
To Game Bari.
Game Bari. 3, 2, 1.
Strawberry smoothie. Let's fucking go.
Yep.
And please subscribe and leave a 5-star review for this podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Follow us on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. And don't forget, you can get this episode early and ad-free. Patreon.com/podexchange, along with show notes, Discord access, live recordings, giveaways, and more from us and our friend Dylan Postel. What'd you get, George?
It was
Your
liver.
face.
It was liver and onions. Not a good jelly bean.
Puff, did that blurb play? What happened?
Yeah, that was not a good time. It's such a bad feeling to have the sensation that you're eating a jelly bean and then have it just be something that is so awful and off-putting.
Very awful, but we're doing it for Game Bari. We are doing it to raise even more donations for St. Jude. We do this every single year at this time. This year, currently, we are at $1,725 raised for St. Jude.
God.
We still have 3 weeks to go here. We'll be back here every Wednesday till that first week of January, where we have our big event. We run games all day to raise even more money. Our friends over at the Secret Levels podcast, they're doing streams as well. They're eating bugs and octopus, and
Suddenly the beans don't seem so bad.
Yeah, we didn't ask them to do that, but by all means necessary. We thank them so much for their support. And if you don't know what Game Bari is, it's pretty much just our 2-month-long charity to raise money for St. Jude during the holiday season. So that's what we are doing. Check that pin post on Twitch, because we are live right now, and donate and make us do some silly things that are on the screen, like that Bean Boozled. But George, let's talk about last week. Let's talk about Virtual Pro Wrestling 2.
Well, first I was going to say, if you are listening to this episode and you're like, hey, how can I be a part of the live streams? Well, there's 2 ways that you can do it. John just mentioned our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/GameMarksPod. But there's also Johnny Clash TTV. That is John's Twitch channel. That's where he is live.
That's where we are
right now. So we got you covered on both platforms. If you're a diehard YouTube, we got you on YouTube. If you're a big fan of Twitch and how everything works on Twitch, we got you on Twitch. Both avenues covered, and we appreciate the support on both channels. But yeah, Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, a game that we both had played previously before we were doing the podcast. I both believe that we had both experienced it. A game that we had touched on very briefly when we did our Game Wars series. And then, yeah, last week, the full official breakdown of that game.
That was fun.
Kind of a layup. we kind of knew that we were both going to love it. It falls in line with games that we have played, a part of that AKI THQ Asmic series of games. It stood the test of time. It is still a joy to play, controls, handles well, looks great, and a couple of little features that we don't really have in the sense of, what would you call it, like the MMA style of that character that you had.
That was crazy.
It was awesome.
And
I
it's so
lost
cool to play
and
it
you
in that game
beat
style.
me up, but it looked so cool.
Yeah, that was great. I definitely can't wait to go back and play some more of that, and I'm sure we will. And hey, we said our big event is coming up in January. Maybe that's one of the games we will play. I would love to do it. Also, if you want to know more about Gamebury and what we're doing here, head on over to gamemarkspod.com/donate, and it has the whole breakdown for you. We thank our sponsors, Major, what is it now? Collect Major, Secret Levels Podcast, the whole gang. We love you all. We couldn't do this without you. Today's prize, I'm going to open up the giveaway right now. If you're listening, is a Trish Stratus Elite, a 111 figure from Wrestling Collector Shop. I just put it in the chat. Just type !me, and you are entered to win this figure. It's a great one. Great little centerpiece for your collection. I know it would be on mine.
And if you are in the YouTube chat right now and you would like to be entered, you can throw a me or just say something in the chat, and I'll make sure that John adds you into the list on that he's putting on that is generated through YouTube or his Twitch channel.
Yep, that is right. But George, are you ready to deep dive into the game we played today? Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling 2 3-4 Budōkan.
Let's do it.
Looking to add the newest wrestling figures to your lineup? There's no better spot to pick up your next figure than the Wrestling Collector Shop.
Started by collectors for collectors around the globe, Wrestling Collector Shop has been serving the fans the latest and greatest in wrestling action figures since 2002. So the next time you're looking for the newest wrestling collectible to add to your collection, make sure go to WrestlingCollectorShop.com and use code GameMarks to save yourself 10% on your order.
That's 10% off your order with code GameMarks at WrestlingCollectorShop.com.
As always, the Deep Dive is brought to you by our friends over at Wrestling Collector Shop. Make sure to use code GameMarks, all one word, to save yourself 10% at WrestlingCollectorShop.com. You just heard the ad. Here's another little reminder. John, here we go. Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling 2 3-4 Budōkan, released April 7th, 1995. It is a Japan exclusive release for the Super Famicom, developed by Natsumi, published by Masaya, and Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling 2 is a game that is the final installment in the Natsumi series of all Japan pro wrestling video games. And we've played some of them. I do believe there are a couple that may have gotten arranged in the shuffle. Natsumi Championship Wrestling, a game that we have almost played 2 or 3 times because of how
we played it a bunch. We've definitely played it a bunch.
Yeah, it is mislabeled as multiple games. It has a full American release. It has its original Japanese title, and then there's some weird in betweens where there's games that are very similar. But that's not what today's episode is about. Let's talk about this gameplay here, because this, for a 95 Super Famicom wrestling game, this is the era of the Royal Rumbles, the Raw, the Steel Cage Challenge, King of the Ring. No, not King of the Ring. King of the Ring's not
King of the Ring. That's a Game Boy game.
That's Game Boy.
But
there is one more.
I want to pull up
WrestleMania, Super WrestleMania.
I want to pull up right now. Obviously, we know what Raw and all of them look like, but we just played this one here, Zen Nippon. So we were trying to draw a comparison while playing the two. And here's this is kind of what I came up with. We could get into this a little more when we go into the graphics later.
Mhm.
But Zen Nippon looks prettier. The colors are nicer. I think the shading's nicer.
There's less like hard breaks in the shadows.
Yeah, it's smoother. Raw and the whole WWF series of games from this generation are more realistic. I think that's where we were trying to find that connection and like the disconnection here. I
Yeah.
think that one's a little more cartoonish and action figure-y, where the WWF ones are trying to actually mimic real life. Even the camera angle of like the WWF TV, like it's kind of even lower than the All Japan game. So I think that's what we were trying to convey, and I think both do a great job at doing what they're supposed to do and representing the companies that they're supposed to represent.
Yeah, I don't think this at all is any kind of we're not making it a competition. We're trying to draw a parallel of what an American style equivalent to this is, and I do think it's somewhere in there. It's like a weird combination of this art style feels a little bit ahead of the Royal Rumble series, but presentation feels very similar. I will say graphically, even down to, again, we'll get more into it when we talk about the actual graphics themselves and the full breakdown. Even so far as the crowd feels significantly improved. There's more depth to it. A lot of sprites are repeated, but they do it's little touches that just make it all the worthwhile. But control wise, what are your opinions on the control style?
Okay, so I had to play this on a keyboard, which is never ideal, especially for a wrestling game, because there's a lot of moving parts. It plays very similar to Fire Pro Wrestling. It was very easy to grasp what you had to do in each. If I did have an actual controller that worked for this, I think it would have been a lot better, but I did manage on keyboard. It's not the worst thing in the world because it is an SNES Super Famicom commercial.
Yeah,
Commercial.
not a.
Oh my god, I'm losing it. Controller.
it's not a super complicated controller. If it was anything more than that, might be a little bit more challenging.
But easy to use. I don't like that it's a carbon copy of Fire Pro just because of the fact that it is, but this, who knows, maybe Zen Nippon happened first, but I doubt it. That's a big hypothetical right there. But it also gives you that feel like I know what I'm doing already because I've played so many pro wrestling games and it's familiar. So with that, it was easy. And yeah, I don't know. You mentioned something that you really liked if you want to get into the proximity and the striking.
Yeah, so there is I guess proximity is the right way to describe it. So there's two resting states or two states that your character can be in. Just general standing, and then the closer that you get in proximity to your opponent, the stance will change, and that's when you can throw strikes, collar and elbow tie up, things like that. And once you're in the tie up, you can then transition into different moves. You can have like what would you call that, John? It's just like a general hold when you're moving. It's like a chin lock,
collar and elbow tie up, like that one of those.
Well, that's like what the start animation is. But when I was like moving the character around the ring, if I wanted to cinch you, it's a clinch. That's what I could not think of that word.
Or front face lock, whatever.
Yeah.
But discipline you're doing.
Use that to position and then transition into other moves, which is cool. It's not. There are other games that do that, and maybe depending on how you feel about your control style or how you prefer to use these transitions from move to move, maybe even do it better. But for the point and the stage, the era of gaming that Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling 2 is in, I actually think it does a pretty good job. The controls, we did the playthrough, our first playthrough of this game live on Twitch and YouTube. So everyone that was watching, the video that you're going to see on YouTube is our first playthrough. And by the second, third match, John and I both had a pretty good understanding working through it. And it's a very easy game to pick up control-wise, but the animations themselves of the moves are pretty cool. There's the one that you kept saying that was super cool and like blowing your mind was the choke slam.
Oh, that one, that's such a sick animation. And even the transitions from like the choke bomb into a pin and like the suplexes and the blue thunders, and it has everything in here and it all looks so nice. It all is just such a smooth transition. There were some that weren't, but I think that might have been an emulator glitch.
It's very possible.
Like certain times guys would come to break up pins and they would just end up standing there, or they would be like mid move.
Or maybe it's like collision detection kind of thing.
I don't think I was Hulk Hogan that game, but I looked like Hulk Hogan, but I could have been anyone else on this list here because I don't really know All Japan wrestlers from back in the day. Don't shoot me. But there was one where he went for a pile driver, but the move was already broken up and the opponent was already across the ring. Like I think doing a double team move with his partner. And I still did the animation that I was taking a pile driver.
Yeah,
like
I don't
spike my head into the mat.
I still don't understand how that happened, but it was pretty fun. It's pretty funny to watch that happen in the moment.
It was fun, but also kind of scary if that were to happen in real life.
I don't know why I'm so used to doing this podcast that when you were like, it's also kinda, I was just like, if this was later in the podcast, he would be hitting me with a did you know?
Not yet. Let's talk about the game modes though that are in here, because your primary mode here is actually booking mode. You just press start and you schedule matches and you have to pretty much please the crowd and fill up the Budōkan arena. Not the game mode I would typically go for. You have your World Championship where you wrestle singles matches against 15 other wrestlers to become the champion. Tag team, which is pretty much the same, but it's 8 matches as a predetermined tag team. And now Open League is a round-robin style tournament tag teams, and the team with the most wins at the end is crowned the champion. There's Open League for the singles, which is the same thing, a round-robin for singles wrestlers and secure the most wins. There's a regular versus, which includes a 1-on-1 or 2-on-2, and a battle royale, which is a fatal 4-way match where wrestlers are eliminated, pinfall, or submission only, and the last wrestler standing wins. These are very popular in all Japanese games, as well as the Fire Pros, all of that. And then you have tag team matches and battle royals, which support up to 4 players. So you can access 4 players in this if you have that capability. Now, the Super Famicom, I want to look it up first. They all melt together in my head. Right, only 2 ports for controllers on here.
Yeah, but they did have the expansion. The SNES had it too, where you can expand it to have more. Not a lot of games. I mean, there were a lot of games that used it, but it wasn't.
Oh, it's like that big thing that gets plugged in.
Yeah, it gets plugged into the second controller slot and turns the second controller slot into 4 or 3, right?
Yeah. Even PlayStation had it. Remember, it was like a
yeah,
corner?
It's a very, very popular thing. Or maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Maybe I am thinking of the PlayStation one.
Yeah, this one is just kind of like an external hub.
Yeah, I think the one I'm picturing in my head is the one for the PS1. But it's cool.
Okay.
This was the sign of the times back then. It's
Super multi-tap.
Multi-tap. Yep, that's it.
The NES one's funny looking. It's called the 4-score.
Different times, man. We had to worry about that.
Different times.
So controller swapping, sharing controllers with with your friends. Like, all right, it's so and so's turn. Now they got to hand the controller over to them.
Yep. All right, let's go through this roster here. You want me to read this one?
Honestly, go for it, man.
You've got Akira Tao, Danny Crowfat, Dan Spivey, Doug Furness, Dr. Death Steve Williams, Giant Baba, Joel Deaton, Johnny Ace, Jumbo Saruda, Jun Akiyama, Kenta Kobashi, Masa Fuchi, Mitsuharu Masawa, Dan Hansen, Takao Omari, Terry Gordy, The Eagle, The Patriot, and Kawada.
Come a long way, John. You got through that with barely a hiccup.
Yeah, sometimes Fire Pro Wrestling has like 300 names, and we gotta read. Hell no.
Or it's like last week where we have to have Google live read the
Yeah.
right in the middle of the episode.
In Dutch or whatever it was. I changed it for the actual episode, and it's in English, so it's a little less finicky. But let's go to a quick word from our sponsors, and we will be back to talk about the artwork and the graphics here.
Right. All right, so we always say on the podcast, it's nice when you would imagine yourself in a video game store, in a department store, in any kind of store that sold video games back in the day. You're walking down the aisle, then you see this artwork on the case on the shelf, and like, oh, what do I know from looking at this what this is? Would you say, John, you're walking down the aisle, you're not familiar with wrestling, that you would know from the front cover that this is a wrestling game?
Absolutely, because Dr. Death looking massive and like an animal with Stan Hansen above him, Giant Baba. I honestly can't tell you who the rest of them are. I think that's Masawa, right? In the green? Okay. Again, not a big Japanese wrestling fan. I try my best. But yes, it looks great. We know that it means Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling 2 and then the 3-4 Budōkan. We don't know exactly why it says the 3-4 and what it means, but
and why in some situations it's a dash, in some situations it's a dot, and in other situations it looks like it's a decimal point. And I've also seen it as a fraction. I don't know if it's 3/4.
So Budōkan translates to Way of the Warrior Spirit. So I really don't know where 3-4 comes in. If someone knows, please let us know, because we just speculate until then. The back cover, you just have your general screenshots with some text, nothing fancy here, with the logos for the publisher and the developer. And that's really it. For sale in Japan only, it said.
Yeah.
But we all know there are ways. Yeah, we all know, and we knew back then there were ways to make it happen. But let's talk about the graphics here, because I think everything, other than what we mentioned already, is just beautiful and pretty and inviting, and there's nothing cluttering the screen up and making it like visually like just vomit everywhere, you know? Like graphical vomit. It's a nice presentation from the beginning where you're looking at the wrestlers, the roster, etc., etc. It's all just, I'm trying to say it's all similar. There's nothing that like veers off.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like one person designed one screen and a different person designed one screen and then they put them together. It's all cohesive.
It's all cohesive. It all just looks so nice. And that stems from the opening screen all the way to the actual gameplay. We already mentioned we kind of compare it to the WWF games Raw and Royal Rumble and all that, but it's got more of a cartoony style to it, but it looks still absolutely like stunning gameplay. The crowd looks great. There is no HUD. There's no health bar, nothing. We're in that era. And when you go all the way up to Fire Pro now, you still don't have a health bar. And you know what? Playing the game, you don't miss it because of the visual cues on the screen.
I was just going to say.
Wrestlers tired, holding their abs, holding their head. That's all you need. That's what you had, you know, in No Mercy even, but with the HUD. Like you could.
Well, the HUD really, like, you wouldn't know until, like, you wouldn't know the extent of your leg damage until you would be walking around and you'd be holding your leg, or you wouldn't know the damage that was done to your arm or your neck or your head until you were walking around with that. So even all the way back in this game, it follows that same logic that if you work one area enough, your wrestler will start to show the signs of the damage that had been inflicted. And yeah, I agree. There's not really a huge need for the health bar or anything like that. The thing that I enjoy the most about this is that every tiny little detail feels intentional.
Oh yeah.
The photographers at ringside, when you hit big moves, the flash of the cameras go off. When there's a 2.9 count or a big move is done, the camera will actually shake as if the arena is erupting with the excitement of the match. It's those little things, and I feel like we say this a lot, but it really has started to become something that we both kind of look for. It's the immersiveness of the experience of playing the game. If this wasn't a video game and you were just watching this on television, does it present that same way? Obviously, the sprites in here aren't super realistic. There's maybe 2 or 3 different body sizes that were used, but those things like the camera shake, the photography, the actual wrestlers themselves having noises that they make when they hit certain moves, it all helps with the immersion. And those are the things that you see even in more recent releases. You see things like the wrestlers making sounds when they hit big moves throughout the Fire Pro series. You have that now in 2K24.
You know what I appreciate? I always talk about the crowd. I always love the crowds. They didn't just copy and paste one to the next. They did,
but like color, like palette changes.
They recolored everybody in the front row, the clothes that they're wearing, so it's like different but the same. Like you don't think about it.
You know what I think is really interesting? There's empty seats in the crowd.
Well, that's because you can fill the arena when you're playing the booking mode.
It's just like an interesting element to have within a game like that, to have a match happening and then you look up from, either there's a submission happening or something, and you look up and you're like, oh man, there's like empty seats out there. What's going on?
Yeah. But everything's so just pretty in this game. We didn't talk really about the entrances. You have the entrance from the crowd for the rest.
With spotlights?
Spotlights. It really gives a nice big fight feel to literally every match that you play. And one other thing we didn't touch on, at least I don't think we did, you can auto-select every single match on your card.
Yep, that is an option.
So we went in, we auto-selected the entire card. I'm pretty sure we were in booking mode for this. I don't think we realized we were. And we auto-selected the wrestlers, the matches we got, I think 3 tag matches, 3 singles matches, and we just went at it. We didn't know who we were picking, but I think it saved us a lot of time also because we didn't have to take out the translator. We didn't have to figure out who it was going to be and all that. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I would say that is a fun element of the game itself. It's booking mode, but not... See, this is the difference of some of the older games that we've played, where booking mode was locked behind watch mode. It was if the game is going to be, the matches are going to be set up automatically, you're just in watch mode or video mode or whatever the modes were called in the different games. I feel like each one had their own name for it, but it's hands off the controller. You just sit back and watch the AI play the matches. This was, hey, you hit this button, we'll book all the matches, all the wrestlers will be picked, and then you can play through the matches, and you don't have to necessarily be like, okay, now I'm going to pick this guy, I'm going to pick this guy, because they want you to set up a full show run of 5 matches, right? 5, not 6. I think it was 5.
I don't know. It was a hefty card.
It was a long card. It was a big card. You could definitely sit there for a little bit and play the matches, which was fun. And I don't think that it would be something that's like, if we sat there and played the whole time, that we would say that we had a bad time. But it's a fun, different experience to be able to have the game itself, pick all the matches and the wrestlers, and then still be able to play through them, which is fun.
Yeah, I loved it. Also, did you know? We only have one this week. Did you know this cartridge is on eBay for $19, but you can get the complete game for $50 to $130? Now, I looked for new. I looked for complete. There are plenty of complete, but when I looked for new and like sealed and graded, I couldn't really find but I'm gonna put alerts on, so maybe they'll pop up and we could see in the future.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there was actually a good amount of just the cartridges only for a fair price on eBay. If anyone has a way to play this and wants to play it, if not, hit us up and we'll tell you where you can play it elsewhere.
Something
but
else. Something else
go ahead.
that I feel like we usually talk about when we talk about Super Famicom games and the Japanese releases as a whole, the artwork and the way that the boxes were made for the cartridges, they lend themselves very nicely to, and I think you may even have some, to like poster size artwork.
That's true.
And so
I do
it's
have that
something,
poster I need to hang.
right? What'd you get? King of Colosseum? What'd you get?
No, I can't remember now. Tekker helped me out with that one.
Oh, I'm curious. We'll have to, maybe we'll cut it
All-Star
in
Pro Wrestling?
if you yeah, that's what it is. All-Star Pro Wrestling 2.
All-Star Pro Wrestling 2, yeah. Yeah. Kaijimoto on the cover. Hell
Yep.
yeah. I got a nice blank wall right here. I might
There
hang
you
that up
go.
on.
You go.
Have
You gotta get
the
one-
god of Kaijimoto looking down on me at all times.
You got to get one behind you.
Where?
I don't know. Well, now your camera angle's all nice and different, so you got less wall.
Yeah, good. That's what I wanted. But all right, it's time to sit back. I want you to relax, George. I want to go into some ratings and reviews, because right here we have the Game FAQ user rating, where it gets a 3 out of 5 stars, considered fair. The difficulty also a 3 out of 5, considered just right, with a little bit of toughness. And the hours played is full 5 out of 5, 48 hours on average. So people are putting time into this, and that's typical with any game that has some sort of booking mode, I think.
Yeah.
People will put a lot of time into it. So,
And this game
overall,
has a good replayability, I feel like.
yeah, I don't know if 3 out of 5 would be fair to say. I would 3.5, 4 maybe.
We'll
Yeah.
get to them.
What do you say we get to it right now? Because we heard the ratings from the people at Game FAQ, but it's time for our ratings. It is time to rate the game.
The game!
All right, Johnny Clash.
No. You get me every week. George Feis.
Man. All right.
Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling 2. Will you play it forever? Or future endeavor?
This is a big ol' play it forever for me. I enjoyed this game. I think graphically it is very unique in its art style presentation. The way that the shadows and the colors were blended together to make almost seamless transitions in shadow and texture, I think was really well done. The gameplay itself, very easy to pick up, very easy to learn, but not boring in any way. It was just the right amount of challenging to make me want to come back and play this more. And I will. And I hope that we do again live on the channel. Like John alluded to earlier, we do have Game Marks Mania coming up next year. So maybe this is on the list. Maybe we do go back and visit this. Maybe Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. We'll have to see. But yeah, big ol' play it forever from me. And now I turn the question over to you, Johnny Clash. Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling 2, 3, 4, Budōkan. Will you play it forever? Future endeavor.
Play it forever. I like this game. I like anytime we play the Zen Nippon series of games because they are so pretty. They play so nicely, and they're just always good games. So yeah, play it forever. I very much enjoyed playing this one.
Good to hear. Good
Now,
to hear.
Shin Nippon Pro Wrestling 94, was that the same series? Let's look that up.
No, Shin Nippon is different.
New Japan?
Yes.
That's New Japan.
All
Okay.
Japan,
Similar
New
style,
Japan.
though. We both played that one forever. Shin Nippon 95. I played it forever. You future endeavored. Shin Nippon Tokan Retsuden. Double play forever. Double piff.
There's what's the one? Oh no, is that Fire Pro?
I don't know. I don't
Fire
know
Pro
if
Iron Slam is the one that I always think of. The 3D Fire Pro.
Oh,
Iron
yeah, that
Slam
one's good.
96.
All Japan Pro Wrestling 93. Was that in this series? Maybe. I'm trying to do a search here of the names. All Japan Pro Wrestling featuring Virtua, Double Future Endeavor.
So this is
All
also
right.
So there's Natsume Championship Wrestling. There's a Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling Jet, which we haven't played.
Right.
There's this game. There's Pro Wrestling Dash, which is the tag game, which I think that is Natsume, is Pro Wrestling
Yes.
Dash.
I think it is.
Then there's there's the Puzzle Fighter one.
Oh God.
What is it?
Love a good puzzle fight.
Yeah, that one I don't know if we actually will do a full episode on, because it is. I don't even know if that qualifies as wrestling adjacent. It might just be fun as like a bonus episode to just cover it, because I do believe Baba is heavily featured, but I may have to do more research on that before we commit to doing a full episode on it. But
All right.
there are other games a part of the Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling series that we have yet to play, at least 2. So we'll see how many more. But hey, guys, with that is my rating. That's John's rating. We would love to hear what you think about Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling 2 on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. You can also leave a comment if you're watching on YouTube, or hey, if you're here now live and you have any experience with this game, or just experienced it live with us here in the chat, let us know what you thought about this game, and if you'll be playing it on your own after John and I are done. But with that, are you ready to get into this week's soft lock question?
Let's do it.
All right, the soft lock is a segment where one of our mega marks from our Patreon gives us a topic to debate, a question to answer. It is a question of the week with a fancy name. This week it comes from our good buddy Soups. Jamie's
You still here?
Soups, you here? Jamie's question is, if you could pick a flavor combo for a signature Bean Boozle, what would be the good flavor and what would be the bad flavor?
Oh my God.
Well, John, I say this. Let's take a Bean Boozle.
He's just doing one.
Just doing one to do.
I already had a good bean today. This is going to be a bad.
Look. Oh, because you have the thing. I can pick from the box. You don't have that. You have the mystery wheel.
Okay. This is burnt rubber or licorice.
All right. The one that I picked up,
burnt rubber is not good,
is either Tutti Frutti or Stinky Socks.
Oh, that's not a good one.
I think the thing that I am most impressed by when it comes to the Bean Boozled is how if you smell the jelly bean, it gives nothing away.
What?
For certain
they smell
ones.
So bad.
For certain ones. No, like they all kind of, because they're all in the same box, they all kind of smell the same. Like you can't tell, like they all have the bad smell.
I guess, yeah. But all right, you ready?
You can't tell what's what. They all have the same thing. Yeah. All right, here we go. 3,
cheers.
2, 1. That's a good one. That's a good one.
That's burnt rubber.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The first. Oh. Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
The first one today was a good one, so I guess this is what I get.
Yeah, I think we.
Oh, that's bad.
I think we both agreed. The only one that's not that's labeled as a bad one, that's not really the bad one, is the toothpaste, because it's just like a really weird mint one.
Yeah, I could dig the toothpaste.
Uh,
That's bad.
yeah. All right,
All
John.
right.
So, good flavor of bean, bad flavor of bean. And let's say
So
the
they should
good
be
flavor,
the same color.
the good flavor bean should be something that's not currently, or it could be. I guess you could be like, it's cherry and it's also this.
Well, here's the thing: who taste tests these and is like, "Oh, yeah, yep, that tastes like a wet dog."
Yeah, I'm fascinated.
There's someone in a lab
how
somewhere.
they get, like, how they get to this.
Gabagool.
Gabagool. I actually did think it would be like, oh, it would be really funny if you had like vanilla bean or blue cheese,
Oh,
because it would be a white, like the white speckled
Yeah.
bean could be like that. So it would be either a vanilla bean, which is in I think is already a flavor. I don't think it's in this one. It might be in yours, but vanilla bean or
don't have that
blue
one.
cheese.
What about like key lime pie? No, not key lime pie. What's something
What color do you need?
like a lemon meringue pie
Okay.
or like an old chicken soup?
Okay. Or it could be it could be like key lime pie or like chicken bouillon.
Ugh.
Or
Oh,
chicken stock.
bone broth. Like something silly.
It's I would say it's
Is
things
there
that like, I feel
is
like
there
we're,
a dirt flavored?
we're picking ones that are like still food.
Yeah. What about dirt? Like where it's just like mud,
Dirt, yeah.
and then put like a Twix bar on the other side or something. I don't know.
Or I say, or you pick things that are like oh no, John, you know what you could do?
Ooh.
Key lime pie or what was lemon meringue pie or cilantro.
I like cilantro.
But not everyone.
Some people
does.
don't. Yeah,
Some
they
people
taste
don't.
dope.
So like for
There you
some
go,
people,
soap.
some people it could be something along the lines of like the toothpaste one, where like some people probably like it, some people don't.
You could do
But-
like coconut or a bar of soap.
Oh, that would work. That would work. Coconut
Grilled-
bar soap.
Either it says grilled cheese or moldy cheese. Ugh.
Ooh, yeah, good cheese. It's just the yellow bean, and it's either good cheese, bad cheese.
That's just nasty.
Do you find that I feel like we've talked about this every week, that the bad ones linger?
Oh, this is lingering. Real good.
It's the worst.
Real good.
That's the worst part, is that they don't go away. All right. So what's your final answer? I think my final answer is going to be vanilla bean or blue cheese. I don't think I'm
gonna
getting
go
better
with
than
a
that.
bar of soap.
Coconut or bar of soap. All right, guys, if you have your own suggestions for what would be good or bad combinations for the Jelly Belly Bean Boozled pack, let us know, or let them know. Hey, maybe they make the bean. All forms of social media at Game Marks Pod. Comment on this video if you're watching on YouTube. But let's talk about what we are playing next episode. Next week on the podcast, we are playing WWE 12.
Let's go. You know my story about this one.
Oh, well, we're gonna hear all about it next week on the pod. I'm very excited to this is the start of a, right? Because it's what,
12 and 13. That's it.
12, 13,
Yeah.
and then 14 is the 2K series. Yeah. Well, we've got does that mean it's part of its own series?
Yes.
The best and worst of WWE 12 and 13.
That is it.
All
All right.
Guys, as always, youtube.com/GameMarksPodcast for our weekly playthroughs, GMP 24, and a whole lot more. PodExchange.shop for all of the exclusive merchandise for all things Pod Exchange. It is PodXchange.shop. That is Pod Exchange as a whole, Game Marks Podcast, and Going Postal. All merchandise there for all three shows. ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod for our Pro Wrestling Tees store exclusive designs. There are designs on there that are not on the Pod Exchange shop store. Patreon.com/PodExchange for this show, ad-free access to show notes, and we just announced new stuff that we are making across both shows. You will have Going Postal Aftermath, which would be a once-a-month show where Clash, where Swoggle will sit down and do a recap of the whole month. It's just him answering questions, hanging out, recapping the whole month of events that happened. It's a good one-on-one session for you guys and Swoggle. John and I will be sitting down, continuing our Clash at the Feast tournament, which, John, yeah, he's back on top. The king is back. Clash is back. And of course, at Game Marks Pod on all forms of social media. And please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell. And if you have a product or service that you would like to advertise on this show, you can reach out to us at gamemarkspod@gmail.com. That's it. Thank you again for joining us for another live episode of the podcast. And Johnny Clash, whenever you are ready, sir, do that thing.
Game over. Marks.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no game shard. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the Clash at the Feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.